From the FALKOR Defense lair with Behind the Flame, we have in the house the one and only 221B Tactical, Suresh Madhavan from New Jersey. From New Jersey in the house. But first we want to take a minute to thank Melinda and Jason Sonju, the owners, and help us pay the bills. We want to thank Derrick Mitchell over there, helping fuel this podcast, and Sam Cummins for production support. We got a few people in the room. We have a great guest. He's had the tour. He's been around. He's shot the guns. He's had the fun. So let's see what he has to say today. So Suresh, you got the lay of the land. You got to go into the Dragon's Nest. You got to see some of the stuff. How are you taking it all in? You've owned the rifle. You've been around with us. You've been to the shows. I call you a friend, and what are you thinking? What's going through your head? How's the tour been, and what's your takeaway?
It's kind of like years ago. I had a friend who he had saved his whole life and worked really hard, and he became a successful business owner. And he said one day he always wanted to get a Ferrari, and I guess Ferrari has this thing where you can certain people can fly to Italy and go to the factory, get a tour, and then they could see their car come off the assembly line. And he got to do that, and he had that experience. So, growing up as a kid shooting rifles, and been behind a long gun, since I was 7 years old, I always had aspired to, one day own a really high-end rifle. And once I discovered FALKOR, I had my sights set on FALKOR, and save my pennies, and I said, this is the gun I'm going to get. And now to come here and see where the gun was built, and meet the whole team here, some of the people that have helped me along the way, and to see the factory, to see everything set up, to meet all the employees. I mean, it's almost like surreal. And also being in Montana, which is very different from Jersey, real different from Jersey,
to say the least. Yeah. Now you kind of got off a conveyor belt. You got held up in Chicago last night. You got whisked in here to our media team. I think it goes without saying. We've said this, we've heard this narrative before that we have a crack media crew. I like to think. So you got whisked off the conveyor belt and got to experience some of that. Your head's got to be spinning. On what you went through the last, hour or so, or 2 hours here. What do you, this is the FALKOR life, and you've been to the shows with us, as I've said. You've become a friend, and not just shooting the guns. You've got to spend some time with ownership, with some of the folks. You more than almost anybody we've had on yet, what does FALKOR represent for you? What does it mean, and what is it about us that you think draws folks in?
I think the first thing that people notice is the quality that goes into not only the design, but the build, the attention to detail, the craftsmanship. That all can't be ignored when you look at a product like what FALKOR puts out. So, and then you go a couple of layers deeper, and you get to the back end. You get to the team that's behind putting that rifle together. It's not like you're getting some cookie cutter piece of equipment or piece of gear or piece of kit. This is something that there's so many hands that touch it, and it's literally a hand-built personal touch item that ends up in the end user's hands. And it's kind of a lost art. There's a lot of things that are out there in this world that you don't have that attention paid to the detail. So it's kind of nice to see a quality product, a high-end product that has that attention to craftsmanship, detail, quality, and it's just backed by the integrity of all the people here and the mission of creating that kind of product.
Yeah, innovation, well said, So, you and I have been palling around the gun industry. We've trained with a lot of the same people, and we'll get to some of that. We've been fortunate, blessed, really, to kind of, walk in lockstep in some ways. In many ways, I refer to you as kind of a guy who's, followed some of the steps that I've taken to better myself and to get more involved with not just the instructors, but the corporate side, but everything. Getting into a little bit of your story, we don't go 80 miles deep here, but what brought you to the gun industry? I mean, what in general, tell us a little bit about your company, how you got here, give us kind of the rowboat story.
So, being in law enforcement for 13 years, of course, you're around firearms. I had always been into shooting and firearms growing up as a child. My best friend's father was an avid shooter. He got me more into shooting. Started out doing some trap shooting, and then I was always into long-range rifle shooting, just because I enjoyed the skill and the precision of it. And becoming a police officer, I kind of felt like that was going to be a good progression. But ironically, most police officers that I worked with were not gun guys. They did not want to go to the range. They didn't enjoy going to the range. They didn't have a bunch of guns and a bunch of rifles and want to go shoot on the weekends. There was only one or two guys out of a nearly 100-man department that were truly into it. So it was that was a little odd, because my thinking prior to getting into that was that I'd have a little bit more of that in the space. But it's all right. It didn't deter me. I still enjoyed weapons, and I still enjoyed going to the range and shooting. And to me, it was an element of the job. I had to be proficient with my firearm. God forbid I needed to use it on the job. I didn't want to, the day I needed to pull that weapon out to save my life or save someone else's life, that wasn't the day I want to say, oh, I wish I spent more time on the range. I wish I knew how to take better care of my gun. I wish it was cleaned, So that is something that I felt was a big part of just being a police officer, making sure your weapon systems were correct and maintained, and you knew how to use them well. And it also led me to really appreciate a finely tuned weapon, a weapon that had some good design and functionality to it. The department I was at, we shot SIGs, and for our duty pistol, and I always enjoyed the quality of the SIG firearm. So I became more and more passionate about guns than I even was, and then starting 221B Tactical, creating the Max Dry vest for police officers. It was just that progression deeper into the firearms world as we started doing tactical gloves and things like that. I had to be out on the range shooting guns, using the gear that we were developing before I gave it to the final production, gave it that okay, and put it out for people to use, because I wasn't going to have a product go out to our customers that I personally did not use on the range and test. And how did I do that? Well, you're out on the range, you're shooting guns, you're doing the stuff that you want to beat the product up, and about that. You want to really, beat the heck out of it before you go to full production. And that was part of my intro into getting deeper into the gun world, and it progressed from there.
Now, a lot of people, this is good to touch on with you, and I'm sure we'll talk about it with other guests. A lot of people talk about, working in law enforcement, working in, in a military capacity, maybe you're contracting, all these different factors. The transition, a lot of people think it's so easy. They leave the profession, or they leave and this is something we talk about all the time. They leave law enforcement, or they leave military life, and they say, I'm going to get into the firearms game, or I'm going to, I T&E'd some stuff, I know a thing or two. My opinion matters. And it does. But talk about that transition, and, that'll stem a little bit into training, I'm sure, and training at a high level. How was that transition? How did you go through it mentally, and what did you realize along the way?
One of the things I realized early on was my level of competency in and around firearms was not nearly where it needed to be or where it should have been for my position. Being a police officer and then ultimately becoming a firearms instructor, I thought I had a pretty good level of competency with regard to firearms and, you know, knowing how to handle the weapon on the range and everything in that domain. But I realized the first course I took outside of the police sector, I realized very quickly just how little knowledge I had. Now, I had, you know, granted more knowledge than the average person and maybe a little bit more knowledge than the average police officer who's not into guns, not into shooting, doesn't spend the time on the range. But, you know, as you've trained with some of the top guys, the guys that I've trained with, you go to some of these courses and the level of knowledge that you're introduced to based on their experiences, they got military experience, tier 1 experience, SWAT experience, and that just totally blew my mind that I was at that point, you know, however many years, 10, 12, 13 years into law enforcement, and I felt like I was almost starting from square one with what I was learning and the knowledge that they were imparting on me. It really blew me away, and it made me realize, and this is something that you've said, you never stop learning. You never stop learning. There's always someone better, stronger, smarter. So I'm still learning now. I've been training with some of the top instructors in the industry now for the last 2 years, 3 years, and I'm still learning. I had a course this past weekend with Dynamis Alliance, you know, Dom, and I mean, I still learned. I learned things this weekend. It was a 3-day course, and I still picked up a couple of things, and people have said, well, you've been to Dynamis courses and other courses multiple times. You're still learning? Absolutely. I'm still learning. Every day, every course, I'm still learning.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, mentally that transition's not easy. And, you know, you try to explain to, you know, folks sometimes the difference between, you know, being proactive about the training, you know, getting out there and being proactive. And it's not exactly easy. To humble yourself sometimes and get out there and get beat up a little. And I always like to say, get your face shoved in the mud a little bit and kind of figure it out. And, you know, and you touched on another huge point. You know, everybody follows on Instagram and social media and Facebook and all these different platforms. And everybody wants to be the next big thing. And you look at, you know, like I even tell Tony, I'm like, behind you, there's another real world tactical lurking out there, you know, and it keeps you on your toes, and you want to get better and you want to keep performing. There's always that next guy out there that's, you know, training somewhere or trying to step up and do cool things, and it innovates training, and it's exciting, and you learn a lot by interacting with the instructors. And one of the things along the way that you and I had talked about through the years now is, you know, taking really the time to get out there and understand the Leo guy's needs, the Mill guy's needs, the instructor's needs. And I like to think along the way, you know, I kind of went after, I know what my mission was. I wanted to train with these guys and understand them and understand their thought process, but along the way learn so much. After, you know, kind of realizing, like you, I knew nothing. I didn't have the years of road work you had, but I got out of the academy, I thought I knew something, and I realized I knew nothing. And then you go out there and you start training with these guys and moving and shooting and doing different things, and we've trained with a lot of the same people, whether it's Dom Rosso, Tony, you know, some different guys out there that have huge breadths of knowledge, and you can learn so much from them. I think it's invaluable when you take it into the boardroom.
Absolutely. You got to know what the end user's ultimate needs and concerns are. If you don't, you're just kind of flying, really blind, and ultimately you're going to fail.
Yeah. So, you know, and that's kind of, you know, just to tell, you know, the listeners and everybody out there a little bit of our story. Suresh and I met maybe 3 years ago, probably going on now, somewhere in that neighborhood. Show. It's, you know, we met in passing, and, you know, he's telling me about gloves or something, and there's all these going-ons, and, you know, we hadn't talked a little bit, and kind of we all get busy and stuff going on, and every now and then we'd have a conversation, and little by little we got closer, and then through the years I followed his journey, and I became a fan along the way. You know, I kind of was like, look at this guy, you know, he's getting out there, he's doing this, he's doing that. You know, we've all dealt with haters in the business and people who, you know, why is he doing that, or who does he think he is, you know, and we talk about all the time, even on this podcast, he's not SWAT enough, he's not this enough, he's not that enough, he's not ninja enough. I asked the question of everybody on the show, you know, what do you say to the guys that say you're not SWAT enough, you're not ninja enough, you're not SEAL enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough, because that's all you ever deal with in this business, right?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You know, I always realize the people, and like you, I realize that people who are like that and are kind of living in that narrative, they have other things going on. They have other issues going on, and I never take any of that personal. In fact, I often feel bad for some of those people. I look at what I've accomplished, and this is something we've talked about numerous times when we talk about the industry and different people. You got to be happy with who you are. You got to be content with who you are and what you've done and your accomplishments. And sometimes that is just never good enough for certain people. And sometimes it gets to the point where people feel like they always need to step up. I did 13 years in a police car. I was never SWAT. I was never in the military. I wanted to join the Navy. I never had the opportunity to, so I did 13 years of law enforcement. And I don't have any regrets for any of those years because I learned a lot and it helped give me a lot of knowledge and experience. But yeah, there's going to be people out there saying, oh, you did 13 years as a cop, but you were never SWAT. Well, then if I was a SWAT guy, they would be like, well, you were a SWAT guy in a small town. Okay, well, now you're a SWAT guy in a big city. Well, you're a big city SWAT guy, but you never went overseas and had trigger time, in country. Okay, well, yeah, I did. Okay, well, maybe you were overseas and you had trigger time, but you weren't special forces. Okay, well, and then you're special forces. Well, you weren't a special forces team leader. You weren't jumping out of C-130. It's like where does it end? So to me, when I hear those stories, and we're laughing about that, we joke about that. I never look at that. I look at what did I do as a person? What did I accomplish? And along the way, did I do the best that I could? Now, knowing my competency and what my ultimate ambition is, I'm just going to go for it. And you know what? I'm going to learn from the people who've been there. I'm going to learn from the Doms. I'm going to learn from the Tonys. I'm going to learn from people that I meet like Pincus. These are guys I'm gonna learn from and absorb because I need that knowledge. I want that knowledge. I'm craving it. And I say this with my business partner, all knowing is doing. All knowing is doing. To truly know something is to do it. And that's why I'm putting myself out there. So when people say, what are you doing all these training courses? What are you trying to be? Who are you trying to, what are you trying to prove? I'm just trying to do these things so I could actually say I know how to do it.
I remember, along the way and, people, I dealt with a lot of it. People said, he's trying to be an instructor. He's trying to be this. He's trying to be that. I said, just trying to be John, man.
Yeah.
I've still, said to this day, I love ripping weights. I love eating food. I'm still at heart. I'm a fat Italian. I enjoy that. It's just be you. And I think that's really the big thing. I think a lot of people struggle with their own identities out there, and without getting too deep into the high schoolishness of the firearms industry, you see a lot of that. And I think you well said. I mean, it's just kind of go out and just be cool at being Suresh. Just be cool at being John. And I think we see a lot of that out there in the gun industry, the projecting and people worrying about the concerns of what other people do. And at the end of the day, I try to explain to people this: after you're an owner of a company, and I'm in charge of running a company now. And I 3 years ago, people would have probably said that's crazy, that'll never happen. And I along the way, I've said the same thing. Hey, you learn by doing, you learn by failing, and you pick yourself up and you dust yourself off. And people have no idea the things people do behind the scenes. People think it's all based on social media. On social media, what you see is what people want you to see.
Right.
They don't see what you're really doing behind the scenes. I mean, I know you can attest to that. I know Sam can attest to that. When you peek behind the curtain of what's really going on, at the end of the day, we're all trying to forward this industry, and we're trying to bring more people into this industry, and we're trying to get folks to buy more gloves, to get more involved, to purchase more firearms. Taron Butler said it the best. He said, "I'm just trying to put guns in people's hands, man. I just trying to show them that, hey, it's not going to do a terrible thing if used properly and stored properly, and it can be a fun sport that folks can enjoy." And I think that's really where the business needs to go. And one of the things, kind of stemming into a passion we both share, which is fitness and physical training. We've both trained with Branch. We've both trained with IFBB pros, multiple MPC pros, and all different levels, is hard work. You have to get out there. It's day in, it's day out. At the end of the day, when that guy, that Leo, decides to retire and potentially get into this industry, or that mill guy comes from overseas, which Sam can attest to, it all comes down to, this is a business. This is a business.
That's it.
And you're instantly retired.
Yep.
At that point.
Yep.
And I think that's a really tough pill for us all to swallow on some level, because we want to get out there and we want to train and we want to continue to get better, but it is a business, and you grow up fast when there's money involved, and you have
fast.
you grow up fast, and your reputation's on the line, and it's time to be an adult and do some adulting. So stemming into the training, we've both got the option to kind of hit the steel with some really great guys out there. Like I mentioned Branch Warren, I mentioned Cody Montgomery, who's been in here in his podcast, and his story will be told a little bit. But we've been fortunate, you and I, to get out there and train with people in multiple SMEs in different subject categories. I mean, that's got to be wild for you. I don't know really your background in fitness. It's something we haven't delved deep into, and if that was appealing to you, or you just did it to do it, or what, along the way.
Everyone gets into fitness for different reasons. My background, I was speaking to Haley about it a little bit. I grew up in a real small town in the middle of New Jersey, and I was the only brown kid in town. I was the only brown kid in school. I was it. That was it. It was like it was a real small town. It was like about a mile square, and I always felt like I stuck out. And as I grew up, I felt like I was always in a position where I always had to be doing something to put myself above everyone else so I could prove myself. I was always trying to prove myself. And I went to college, and I started noticing right away, and I was a little weakling. I was a twig. And I started noticing that the football players were walking around campus, and some of these guys were like larger than life. And I would go to the gym, and I would actually just go to the gym, and there was almost like a Overwatch elevated deck area where you could look down at the guys working out. And I was always so like enthralled by what they were doing, and how much weight they were moving. And I never lifted a weight in my life. And I said, that's what I want to be. I want to start working on my fitness. I want to get my body in a state of readiness. That's where I want to be, because I need to stand out above the rest. And a lot of my friends, they weren't in shape. They were entering that freshman year of college, putting on that freshman 15, and I said, I don't want that. I don't want that to be me. So it was just one more way for me to stand out from the crowd, was to get my body in peak physical condition. So it started in college, and then of course I became a cop. And many people know, I went to school for medicine. I graduated pre-med. I have my degrees in science. And I ultimately didn't go into medicine. I became a police officer, and immediately I noted the importance of being physically fit as a police officer. And what kind of blew my mind was the number of officers that were not physically fit. So this was something I looked at as my life depended on it. So it just continued my journey into fitness, now from a different sense of, starting out to saying, I want to get bigger and I want to look a certain way. Now I wanted the fitness because I wanted to be strong for, unfortunately they give prisoners weights to lift. And I knew that I had to be ready for that day where I got onto an encounter on the side of the road. And it happened a few years into my career, rolling with someone on the side of the highway. And, I said to myself, my level of fitness is what saved me. A couple of years later, I was in a car accident. And it was a bad accident. The patrol car was totaled. And I remember the ER doctor saying that had I not been in the physical shape I would have been seriously injured. So there was so many different things along my life that led me to go deeper and deeper into the fitness world, that it literally at one point saved my life. So it's just been a continued passion for me now.
Scary that you said you have two extremes. You have the extreme of the guys who aren't physically fit, in firearms, in law enforcement. And then you have the guys like Ronnie Coleman going out and winning Olympias and stuff like that. So I feel like I've always looked at law enforcement as like two sides of the spectrum. You know, you have the guys who are really clanging the iron and making it happen. But it leads to a greater question, and it's been no mystery if you followed FALKOR, or you followed some of the things that I've done and even you've done over the years, and just even the things Dom and Tony are doing. Of course, Tony, but is fitness good for the firearms industry? Is fitness, is that genre that's coming over? And I've said it, you know, I'll go out and say it. I've said it for a long time now. Just being overweight and doing mag dumps in the desert isn't going to cut it anymore. Is it good for the business?
I think it's almost, you could almost say it's critical. You know, there's a lot of people out there that, you know, like you said, they're out there, they're training, they want to be operators of some kind, people in the law enforcement domain. But I tell people this all the time, and a lot of people, you know, they're saying, hey, why are you doing all this training? You know, you're lifting, you know, all this stuff. Listen, if you're going to put a gun on your hip or you're going to sling a rifle, it's not just being able to shoot that. And we talked about this weekend in Dynamis training. You need, because if any of your weapon systems fail, you can't go to your pistol, you can't go to your rifle. What do you have? You have your hands. You have to fight someone, and you know, you got to get to combatives, and you got to use your hands. And you may have to run after someone. You may have to run them down. Then after you run them down for 40, 50, 100 yards, now you're going to have to wrestle them. And you got to wrestle, and I'm sure you know, you wrestle someone for 2 minutes. Sometimes it feels like 20 until backup gets there and whatever. So, and I've been in that position. So it's almost critical, not only from the law enforcement end, but I even say it from the civilian end. I'm learning more and more of it now. If you have a family and you want to take them out and be somewhere and there's an incident, and you now need to pick up someone in your family and run with them to safety, can you do it? And it's sad that there's so many people that I know personally that don't have the physical stamina or not in the physical shape to do that. And it's not about being a cop, being a ninja operator. It's just being a dad, being a husband, being a family man to protect your family. Can you run 100 yards flat out, carrying your wife, your girlfriend, your child over your shoulder? Can you do that? Can you get them to safety? You know, the incident that happened in Las Vegas, there were people running for their lives, and there were people winded after a few yards because they're just, you know, their heart rate's going. They're not ready for that.
Right. And it may even be just as important, if not more important, for a civilian, because what if you're in a gun-free zone? And you decide to obey every single law written on a chalkboard on the way into Starbucks, you know what I mean? And you don't have a firearm with you. Your physical strength may be the difference. It might be all you have.
I mean, you hit it on the head. You know, I was talking in the car ride here from the airport. I had a airline mishap with a certain major airline carrier. I don't want to put them out there, and
everyone else does.
I got stuck in Chicago because my flight got delayed, and there was a whole nother debacle. But I was stuck in Chicago overnight. So there I was in Chicago, the city with the strictest gun laws in the land. And now I don't have a firearm. I don't have any weapons. And now I'm going downtown Chicago, walking around, and an officer's wife had sent me a message saying, hey, you know, just be careful, what have you. There were 19 shootings last night. And I said to myself, this is incredible. I'm in a city with the strictest gun laws in the nation almost, and there was 19 shootings, and I'm walking around the city, and the only thing I have to defend myself it really are my hands and my fitness. That's all I had.
And you know, people don't realize this in this country, and I explain this all the time. The Leos right now are kind of the redheaded stepchilds out there, and it's really tough. If you put a uniform on, you're a target, period. I don't care if you're a mall security guard. You're a target. You know, I always loved the line in Untouchables: you carry a badge, you carry a gun. It's very dangerous right now. It's in many ways. I don't know what the exact numbers are, Sam. If how many cops are dying a day, I'm not akin to those.
Yeah, I think 9 have died in the last 13 days.
but it's up there.
Yeah, I think
it's up there,
nine officers.
and this is the United States of America. It's scary. It's super scary out there. So we got a little bit of your story. We talked about the tie-in between you and I. We talked a little bit about the physical side and fitness and all these things. Why Falkor, and kind of what makes us different? What makes us one of those companies that you're willing to get on a plane and get out here, and kind of what brings it all home for you? We're honored to have you. We're honored to have you as a part of the team, and why us? On a personal note, like, why'd you choose us? What makes Falkor special?
It's funny. A lot of my friends, guys I was on the job with, and people that know me from the job, and people who know me outside of the police world, they see Instagram and Facebook, and they see the photos with the Falkor rifle, and they see me in the Falkor shirt, and they're like, what's the story? Are you sponsored by these? Are they sending you guns? What are they doing? And I said, no, none of that. No, I paid full price for my gun. No.
Everyone starts as a customer. We're here to sell guns. Everyone starts as a customer.
I said I paid full price. I said I know nothing for free. I paid for everything. I said it was the integrity of when I met Jason and Melinda. I just knew, and and I don't need to tell you this. There's certain people you meet. Maybe it's the background I had as being an officer for so long. There's certain people that you meet that you immediately realize one thing: these are good people. And it goes the other way too. There's certain people you meet and you immediately say to yourself, "This is someone I need to steer clear of." But I immediately had that connection with Jason and Melinda, and I also, the second I touched the very first Falkor, it was getting behind that car, that first car that you drive, and you put your hands on the steering wheel, and you almost don't even need to put it in drive. You just know by gripping the steering wheel, this is the car. This is what I want to drive. So I looked at the craftsmanship, I looked at the quality, but most importantly, I looked at the integrity behind the people who were behind the gun. So you look at the gun, but who's behind the gun? And I saw two people, and I saw a group of people that were on the Falkor team, and this is before your time even. And I said, this is a company that I want to support. And I did all that support, bought the rifle full price, did the photos, supporting the company on social media, going to police departments, talking about the rifles, the LE kit, talking to SWAT guys. And everyone said the same thing. You must work for this company, or they must be like paying you. And I'm like, no, I swear, guys.
In fact, they're charging me.
I said, no, I swear, this is just coming from my heart. And you know what? And this is something I tell a lot of people. It's almost more authentic in that domain, right? It's almost more authentic when you're supporting a brand, you're supporting a company, you're supporting a product, and you're not sponsored by them. They're not paying you. And people, and you know what? That's real, especially for cops. Because cops are obviously they're very big skeptics because of what we do every day. People lie to us all day long. So when people see someone and they're supporting something, and they're not on the take from that company, or getting paid or whatever, it's more real.
Yeah, and we get it's no mystery here. We get crushed with people. We want to T&E your gun. We want to evaluate your gun or your firearm. We want to, send me something, or, the craziest requests. If I only had a Petra, I would do such a cool video for you guys. We see that stuff all the time, and it's no mystery who we partner up with and who we work with on that level. We take very seriously, whether it's Ian Strimbeck out in New Hampshire, or Tony Sentmanat, Real World Tactical, yourself, guys. We kind of really like the vibe of what they're doing. We like to see what they do with it when they pay for it, or when they take a look at the equipment and they give us an honest assessment. But I get a kick out of that sometimes on social media, and my background in sponsorship and working with the shooters and the athletes goes way back. And I always say to guys, okay, we'd love your opinion, but we got some pretty good guys on the roster too that have paid their time, and we do get their opinions every day. We do get their feedback. Not to mention, in this building, we have Marine Corps snipers, we have former Marine Corps guys, we have plenty of people, deputized dudes. We have a little of everything in this building. We have females that can give us advice on what they think and how it looks and feels. And that's important too.
Sure.
Getting a little bit of feedback from everybody. So, it makes tremendous inroads into the markets, especially the civilian market, if you become a customer first.
Absolutely.
And I always try to say, be a customer first. And going through the years of being in this business, everybody's always like, oh, everybody sends you everything. Everybody sends you this. Everybody sends you that. I said, there was a lot of years I was buying stuff, and trying it out. Are you crazy?
Oh, yeah.
It's like when you get a free, like I was talking about this with Mike O'Hearn on the fitness side and Heath Evans. People see you post an Icon meal. Oh, he just gets it for free. Do you know how long I was lifting weights when I was 14 years old till I was 34 years old, and I was paying for every meal, every drop of protein, everything that went into my body, and I've invested tenfold into the business. Now, yeah, of course, you get to a point where you get to reap some of the rewards, and a lot of it tends to be back pay, so to speak, for the time you put in, plug in the companies, and we appreciate that, and that goes without saying. But for every one of those, there's two guys that you take a chance on because they talk you into it, and you never hear from them again, or you never see anything again. So Sam will attest to this, I'm really tight-lipped about who we work with and who gets what. 9 out of 10, it's no. And it just has to be that way. I think across the industry, it just has to be that way. And I know, Sam, you've been around with a few brands. It just has to be that way.
Yeah, I think we've put together a really great team here so far.
Yeah. And keeping it tight, I think keeping it tight, and I know you're starting to explore some of that with 221B. Who do you align yourself with as you grow as a company? You kind of, we're at a point where we have to bring a couple bodies in.
Yeah, sure.
And you start exploring that, and it gets scary quick.
Yeah, we always, we did a lot of T&Es in the beginning when we were growing, especially with the Max Drive vest and, the body armor ventilation product. And then we got into the glove world and, designed a glove that really didn't exist in the police space. And we got into the glove market. And, we got a lot of people who said, hey, listen, send me this. I want to T&E it. I'm going to give you my honest, here's the thing. And I learned this a long time ago. People value anything based on what they pay for it. So if I'm going to send something to someone for $100, but they've paid $0 for it, we sent it to them for free, their automatic assessment of that product is $0. And how many people we sent expensive gear to, and we didn't charge them because they sold us on the story, and they got that gear and they never even touched it. It probably stayed in the bottom of their locker. And guess what? That didn't hurt them because they weren't out any money. They were fine. They got something free from a company. They said they were going to do a video. They were going to try it. They didn't do anything with it, but it was no big deal to them because they weren't out any money. So then I said, that's it. I put my foot down. I said, listen, from now on, anything we send out, people are paying full price. If for any reason they're not happy with it or they want to return it after the T&E, we'll refund them their money. But they're paying for it because they got to ultimately have a skin in the game. It's like with anything in life. If you don't have a skin in the game, you're not going to value it, you're not going to be present, and you're not going to truly be 100% diving into this product and diving into this experience. So if you don't have a skin in the game, you're out.
Oh, you have to.
Got it.
I just watched Kenny from X Bands come on, and I bought my first set of bands, it just kind of was like, and we talk about it. I think it was 2 years into us knowing each other, I finally, I think you felt like you were insulted that I hadn't even asked you for anything. I was like, I don't ask for anything, and amongst friends, unless there's a quid pro quo, I'm just kind of not that way. I wouldn't be that way unless it was quid pro quo. So you gave me the underwear, and I have to say, the 221B tactical underwear, everybody, is tremendously comforting.
Haley, earmuffs.
So I can attest that they are coming out with a women's line.
We have the women's line. We have the women's line launched in the brief, but a lot of the women, especially in the law enforcement world, asked us to do a kind of like boy short. So we're doing a boy short version of the ladies.
So Haley J. Photo should get on top of that. The 221B Tactical women's line. But talk to me about that. We talked about fitness. We're talking a little bit about your brand. Tell me about some of the things that you're going to be launching, you're coming out with, as we step into that, because I love where the brand's gone. I'll be honest, the first 6 months we knew each other, I hadn't paid much attention to it. I was like, I don't know, he's got some plate carriers, he's got some gloves over there. I don't know what's happening. But now I'm paying attention. I got to handle some of the things, we've looked at. Tell us about the line, tell us about the company, and then I want to get into kind of where you see the industry going as a whole, as you see it, and all that.
So, obviously our flagship product is the Max Dry Vest Body Armor Ventilation. It's worn beneath body armor for police officers who wear concealed body armor or external plate carriers. So, we have that as our flagship product. We got nearly 150,000 officers and operators worldwide, military units in other countries, all around the world. Of course, we have people in our Air Force and Navy and Marines using our product as well. So, ventilation, wearing body armor, it's a critical thing. So we're always developing more in that space. Anyone who's ever worn body armor knows how uncomfortable, how miserable it is, the heat rash, the itchiness, just the all-around discomfort. So that's and we're always innovating. I'm behind all the innovation on that end because I actually lived it for 13 years. But then, we're expanding into the glove world. We launched the Extremity Glove, which is the hands-free tactical light built into the glove. That was a huge hit for a lot of people who were kind of operators in the sense that they knew the value of not holding a flashlight in their hand and having it attached to the glove. And then we started with the line of cut-resistant, needle-resistant gloves. Of course, heroin is such a big thing right now in so many parts of the country and around the world. So our needle-resistant hero gloves have been a superstar seller for us. So that's been something we've always wanted to focus on, is the safety and the comfort, because we don't want to be this company where we're having a whole lot of gear going out to market that's kind of something that someone might want to think about, but it's not really relevant, it's not super important. So now our innovation has gone into the apparel world, where we have the Silver Elite line, the boxer briefs, the base layer shirts, the men's and women's underwear. The socks, that's all silver infused, so it's antibacterial, anti-odor, anti-itch. Soldiers in the field can wear it for days on end, and they don't have to worry about any kind of rash or infection or anything like that. So that is the progression we're going to. We don't want to create stuff that already exists. We're all about inventing and innovating new offers that don't exist to help take care of people.
Amen.
Yeah, and we got a great collaboration right now with Tony.
Yep.
We're doing a plate carrier for Tony, and I got a little secret project that I'm
it's
doing.
G14 classified.
And we got a secret project for Mike Cunahan at No Donuts here.
No Donuts.
I got a secret project for him, and we got a big project going on for NYPD right now that Mike has been part of. So we got a couple of things in the lab, in the test lab, and we're excited about it for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff. And you got to see some of the stuff we're going to be coming out with. You got to handle the standard today. As many know, the standard, we can't keep it on the shelf. We've been, knock on wood, we've been blessed. It's flying off the shelves. And you got to look at the new Blitz 2.0 and Rush 2.0, which the Blitz 2.0 and Rush 2.0 is on the website or going on the website, or
it'll be up soon.
It'll be up soon. So
coming soon.
I'm going to be posting a photo of it today. If Haley J Photo can expedite me a photo.
She can get going.
She's coming to us live from the couch. So supervising. So what do you think? I mean, you've seen, you're starting to see some of the things. I know you saw some top secret stuff laying on the floors and, kind of walking by, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
What do you think? Step in the right direction?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only is it a step in the right direction, it's almost a necessary step that these days you need to take if you're going to stay relevant in this space. If you're not innovating, if you're not creating new offers of help that are going to take care of people's concerns, you're going backwards. And to me, innovation is the cornerstone of 221B Tactical. Like our sample room where we're kind of coming out with the new prototypes and the new gear that I oversee, that's the best room in the company, because that's where, the offers that are going to take care of people are. I always tell people, I said, the design room where the new prototypes are being made, and our customer service room where the people who call in or they email in, they need help. Those are the two most important rooms in the entire company. And those are the rooms that are going to help us grow. The innovation room and the customer service, taking care of the customer rooms, that's it. Those two divisions at 221B Tactical, nothing's more important. So to walk around here and see the innovation and how forward thinking you guys are, to me, like, I feel like I'm home.
Like you harped on customer service when you were talking to our team, and one of the things we do when we have a guest in is we give them 5 or 10 minutes to kind of address our team and tell a little bit of a story, and that was some of what Suresh was doing when he was walking around here, spending some time, and you're getting a little close up of the rifle now in his hands. This is the new Blitz and Rush 2.0. I like to do things, customer service is always a work in progress at every company, but one of the things I wanted to do when I got here was do things that make sense. And I wanted to make changes to the rifles based on being on the ranges. Look, I'm no ninja, but I've been on a range for 12 hours.
Yeah.
I've had equipment on me for 12 hours. People like to call it kit. Kit was a car I saw in Knight Rider. I don't call it kit, but I just say you got gear on. And I had gear on for 12 hours with a rifle hanging, slung, and, I've been there 20, 30, 40 times.
Yeah.
Might be under 100, but it's barely.
Yeah.
So I've been there where it's been hot, it's been sticky, you have all that stuff on, and it made a lot of sense to me to just start doing things that were simple.
Yeah.
And I think some of these steps you're going to see in these rifles coming out, and some of the ones that are already out. And we're going to be, Sam, it's safe to say we're going to be rolling almost one out a month.
Up until the end of the year.
Up until the end of the year. And I think
what you're going to hear that from me.
Yeah. I think what you're going to start to see on www.falkor.com, shameless plug, you're going to start to see some things that make sense. And that's what we want to be doing here. You look at some of the things other companies are doing and other brands, and I think this is just a huge step in the right direction. And the standard was a huge step in that direction, and the market responded with tremendous response. So
you're sold out, right?
Sold out.
Sold out,
and we're sold out on the standard at an MSRP of $15.99, and we're spinning up Sam, another 400 of them or so
like
as
that.
fast as we can, and we're taking orders now.
Right outside the window here, the direction that Suresh is looking right now is our production floor, and a lot of those machines right now are taken up with doing receivers and various other parts that we need for that rifle specifically. Mm-hmm. So we're running full tilt right now.
Yeah, so it was super important to me when I got here to start doing that, and some of the different things and SKUs that were left behind I felt just weren't in that vein. So I'm excited about it. Tremendously honored to have you here. And I mean that because I consider you a friend. I know you do a lot of things on your own dime. So for those of you out there, he got flown in for free to say something nice. He's
negative.
He's hot off the Canaries. No, they gave him 4 guns to say that.
Negative.
In this business, there are guys that constantly go around with the tin cup, and then there are guys who just say, I want to come out. I want to see my friend, and I want to spend some time, and I want to see the warehouse.
Yeah, that's the only reason I came out here, and that's 100% true. I have, I've never gotten a free rifle from FALKOR Defense. I've paid full price.
That's not entirely true now.
What's that? I haven't gotten anything yet.
Yet.
That might change.
We are going to change that.
Well, you always say support those that support you, and
right.
Yeah,
Suresh has supported us a lot, so we're going to support him.
To date, as of this moment, I have yet to receive anything free from FALKOR.
Yeah, we're not completely heartless here.
But I know
you didn't even get a T-shirt or something? Can we get him a T-shirt before we get out of here?
We'll get him a T-shirt.
Can a brother get a T-shirt?
Yeah, can I?
But you know what? It's great. It's great to actually come out here and see the team. And, I flew out here on my own dime. I wasn't flown out here, and I'm flying out to Montana in the middle of nowhere. And I said, this is something I want to do. And even some people in my world, in my circle, were like, why are you flying out there? I said, you know what? I want to see what it's all about. I want to meet the guys that helped me along the way. I want to meet the guys who've been supporting me that I've been supporting. I want to see their home headquarters. I love when people visit headquarters in New York City for 221B Tactical. So I said, you know what? This is what I want to do. I mean, it was great. It was an honor. I had Pincus stop by 221B Tactical in New York City, and it was an honor to have him there, and it was an honor to show him around. So I wanted to come here.
Rob's got a lot of that in him.
Yeah, he's a good man.
I mean, Rob, Rob for me is a super sweet guy. I think he does do a lot of that, and I think for you, the sky's the limit. I mean, I'm honored having you as a friend. Love having you here. You're a guest anytime. You're welcome anytime. And, before we close out and kind of wrap, I always like to ask, what's your favorite gun here?
What's my favorite gun?
What's your favorite firearm that we make or are making? What are you most excited about? And, kind of close with a few shameless plugs and tell us where we can find you.
I got to say, my current favorite gun is the Petra, without a doubt. It is my absolute favorite rifle that's produced by Falkor. Although, I gotta tell you, I look at the standard and I'm saying it's such a beautiful baseline rifle. Everything you need, nothing you don't. I mean, to me, it was a brilliant offer for the marketplace, and I love it. I love it. I mean, I had the chance to, try it on the range, and it was
We'll get a couple close-ups of it.
Yeah, and it's just a beautiful gun at to me a killer price point. And to me, I like a value. I'm not gonna lie.
And I've been, I'll make a critical statement of it. And everybody, rifle companies. To me, at that price point, all you might do is drop a trigger in it. That's about all you do.
And an optic.
Well, of course, an optic, unless you want to shoot straight irons. But
we're
not that rugged.
That's it.
No, we were able to put the Griffin armament sights on there, and there's a couple upgraded features: the Ballistic Advantage 416R stainless, B.A. Hansen profile barrel, mid-length gas on that. It's a real soft shooter. Actually, Haley was out in the range with us the other day shooting it for the first time, and we had a really, really great time with it. It's nice
Haley's
and soft.
4'10".
Yeah, there you go. So.
Haley J photo. And we wanted to do things, as I said before, that made sense.
Yeah.
So
definitely made sense. Definitely
of course. And like I said, the only criticism, if you were to have one, if you're a buyer out there and you're, everybody uses the term buy once, cry once. Everybody uses the term of they could go out and get a $500 M&P Sporter out there and then drop $500 or $600 into it. We wanted to make something that you bought off the shelf, and if you had to make it happen, you may drop a different trigger in it. You may put an aim point on it. I mean, you can easily blow the gun up into whatever expense point you want to, because I know all the mall ninjas out there will be like, oh, I have to have, a Hyperfire XYZ Geisley on there. You don't have to have that, but those are changes you can make. But we wanted to be at that price point, giving you the bones of everything you needed. Yeah. And I think we accomplished that. I think everything's there, and it's a step in the right direction, as I said before. And the pistol, the Blitz and the Rush will be another step.
Yeah, the Rush is going to be a phenomenal.
It's going to be awesome
debut. That's going to be in there.
That was the 300 Blackout.
Yep.
So, those are 2.0s, and I felt we made the changes that needed to be made, and we didn't have to go through a whole, different type thing. And we're taking huge steps to go to black guns, and that's the way we want to go. I mean, we don't want to do candy corn, unicorn, ninja colored guns anymore. We want to do stuff that is functional, that makes sense, and that takes us in that direction.
You'll still see some cool custom stuff from us. It's just not it's not the direction we're going in terms of the whole outlook of what our production guns are, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, we're still going to do in pockets. I think it's important to have a gray in there and have a couple other colors, but I think, those are some of the things. So you've said everything. You've touched on it all. And
you're going to see the same thing from 221B Tactical. Obviously you can find everything that we offer at 221btactical.com and Facebook, Instagram at 221B Tactical. You're going to see some stuff coming out for police and military that doesn't exist right now currently in the market, and that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to do what you guys are doing. We're going to really be blowing people away, and people are going to see the stuff that we have coming out in 2019, 2020, and they're going to say, I never even saw that before. I didn't even think of that. And that's what we want to do. That's what we want to bring, because our mission is to get cops and soldiers home safe to their families.
Amen.
No matter what it takes, and that is the ultimate mission.
Yeah, and again, you know, I think you're doing things that make sense. I think that's huge. And with us, as time goes on, like we mentioned, Sam, we're going to see, you know, something about every month, and then maybe in 2019 you may see us resurrect a certain project.
Something
You
that people
may.
have been asking for a lot.
You may. And there's reasons behind that, and we're going to uncover those reasons. We're going to explore those reasons, but you may see us resurrect something.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. So you can find Suresh at 221B Tactical on all the different forums. He also, you have your own page too, if people want to follow you on a personal journey.
Yeah.
What's the app?
It's at suresh.madhaven.
Yep.
And I'm starting to put a little bit more of my training world on there. A lot of people are interested in the training I'm doing, training with Dynamis and Dom and Dylan and the crew, and training with Tony. Got 2 training courses coming up with Tony, Real World Tactical. One in August. He has an LE course beginning in August, 3-day course, and then going back there in September, he's doing a course with 2 from Ronin Tactics down in Florida again, so I'll be there. So I want to give people a little outlook into that world, so that's why I'm doing some more on the personal space.
A little behind the curtain of 221B.
Yeah.
A little behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Better late than never. The one and only Jason Sonju and Melinda Sonju stopping in to say hi. As we wrap up, I do want to take a minute to thank them. I want to thank everyone in here, Haley, Jay Photo, and Sam Cummins and D. Mitchell. So I appreciate everyone's time. Don't forget to like and subscribe FALKOR Defense on YouTube. Tap that little bell and get notifications. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram at FALKOR Defense. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, FALKOR Defense. And please like, subscribe, follow, and go ahead, leave some comments under the YouTube. Pay attention. And the podcast will be launching. Derrick, when are we launching this on iTunes? How close are we? What are we talking here? Early August. So early August we'll be rolling out all the episodes on iTunes. And I thank Suresh. I thank 221B Tactical. I appreciate his time. And for everyone on the floor and for everybody in the building, thank you for coming in.
Awesome.
And
Thank
I
you for having me.
appreciate you coming down. And that's a wrap. We're going to roll out. Did I miss anything? Sam?
Dude, you got it.
Got it all? Thank you guys.
All right.